I think there was a general agreement with this, but anyone opposes, just let me know. Hi, Tam. Hello.
I reject the proposal full-heartedly. I'm just kidding. I don't know. It sounds good.
Okay, great. So from that,
What did I walk into?
that's your question in the agenda that people are outraged.
Oh, I see. Got it.
So cool. So next week we start having this meeting at a different time. I mean, same time, but Wednesday. And I wanted to ask if anybody has a good intro question. I was thinking about something, but I didn't know if it was too unrelated. Because I happened to watch the Oscars on on Sunday, and that was just so. It made me feel like the culture, the mainstream culture, is just collapsing, and just seeing so many interesting, funny, I don't know what to call it, interactions. And then I was curious too, what do you guys think of how is mainstream, this idea of mainstream or the media as we know today, going to change once we have more decentralized communities and the world is ruled by DAOs? I don't know, in this utopian future, can you imagine what the media would turn into? And what would that do for our culture? Go ahead, Zach.
I was just going to say, like, it's will be like something that it's already happening in in YouTube and everything. Like, people start to create their own content, and people will just see the content they are liking to see. But at the same time, I think there will be, like, actually, like it's also happening now. Like, there will be people with a lot of followers that will have like huge power. It doesn't have to be bad, but yeah, I feel it's going to be a fact. And yeah, I'll pass it to Nate.
Oh man, don't pass it to me. I think we still have the same problems. I don't see decentralization or DAOs changing our obsession with celebrity culture or changing the way information. I think we'll have more misinformation, and I think that's problematic. And so I don't really think we can get rid of that problem. I think that is very much a human urge that we cannot get rid of. It has to be learned over time. And that whole thing got me so mad, not because of the whole thing that happened, but because it interrupted Questlove's award afterwards for getting an award on his documentary about the blues birth. And I was like, oh, such a great award for him. Anyway, I'll pass it over to Wonka.
Thanks, Nate. Yeah, I remember that once I asked a question to Sam like, "Hey, how do you see the future?" And he said like, "I don't see one future. I see multiple futures coexisting." So I don't think that this culture around media and celebrities will be erased completely. But I think that there will be um, other culture arising that will coexist with this celebrity culture, and like everyone will choose in which culture would they like to be living in. And yeah, it's not that there will be like one future for all, but it's like in this present moment there's and in the present moment will be coexisting the future and the past at the same time. Yeah, maybe I got too ethereal, but yeah, I think that in the present, like I am seeing time not so much like a line, but like a continuous present, and maybe in the future we will go back into some of ancient things. So or what we consider ancient things in this present. But yeah, it's just my thing. I'll pass to Manu.
Thank you, Juanca. That was that was really interesting what you said about having multiple futures. I've never seen it that way, but it is more, I think, realistic than thinking about it uh, as one future. Anyway, regarding the question, oh man, society is spectacle, right? It is. Um, I don't know. It's weird. It's just been accelerated by social media. We become this objects for consumption. And Yeah, like Nate said, celebrity culture. It's an ideological thing that is not going to be solved by bonding curves or cultural builds. Actually, by cultural builds, it might. I take that back. I think it is a cultural thing. It is ideological, and I don't know. I long for uh, the times of simpler men. I think it's a lot of pretense right now. Um, Curiously, what I like about dreams is that there's no pretense. If you see someone that's maybe all adorned in the very beautiful clothing, or a suit, or very beautiful, you can sense if that person has ill intent towards you. But in Spanish, I mean, in reality, as we say in Spanish, caras vemos, corazones no sabemos, right? We see the face, but we cannot see the heart. Which is why I think dreams are even more real than this matrix. But that's even more ethereal than what Juanca said. I just think there's a lot of pretense in celebrity world, and being famous. Um, I think there's a point where you can change people's lives and have a platform through fame, but I think it's also corrosive. So I'm ambivalent about it. I think the things that I want to do, it might be useful to be famous, but at the same time, it just opens the door to um, places that I do not know if I'll have the moral tenacity to control. Anyway, that's too long. It's a monologue. I'll pass it to, I believe, Ben's has not gone yet.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I guess my first thought was less about like celebrity and more about media. And what I think is interesting about like media right now versus like a possible decentralized future media is like we have these kind of legacy channels that have become kind of the gatekeepers. And so there's only like a couple different versions of events that are out there. Each of them kind of have different flavors, that is, in the US. And I can see like decentralizing that, and you see it a little bit with YouTube anyway, because now there's kind of independent outlets that are doing their own thing. Just like that shared narrative that we kind of had, even if it was constructed or created a little bit by like these gatekeepers. It's just like this multiple futures. It's everyone is kind of living in their own hyper tailored kind of set of entertainment and facts and culture, and that could contribute to like polarization and stuff. But I don't know, it's just really interesting, and I think a decentralized media would be a little less how do you say, like everything is based on the ad model now. So, people criticize crypto for being hyper financial. But I think it's just explicit, right? So like because they don't have ads that are trying to sell you stuff, they're just actually trying to sell you their product, So it's like, yeah, it's hyper financial, but it's explicit. It's not like they're trying to play with your emotions and like get you to in a mood that is going to be more likely to buy stuff. So I will pass to Zepti.
Oh, I already went. I'll pass it to Tam.
Sorry.
So yeah, I guess my thinking is not too far from what you were sharing, Ben's. Immediately it brings to mind a number of things as soon as I posed the question, Livia. The first one is DAOs, right? Like, will DAOs change what we're seeing being this trend? And I don't think DAOs are necessarily the solution for the wealth inequality that's growing. And that's part of the problem. And I don't think it's a solution for media consumption. And I'd say those are the two main drivers, or two of the main drivers of this sort of, celebrity culture. There's two things that I thought of, or two people that I thought of. But these are like older people like Neil Postman wrote this book called "Amusing Ourselves to Death" in the 1980s.
Çok güzel bir konuşmaya rast geldim.
Hey, Cyber Rabbit, I'm just going to mute you.
Will the media change if
Cool. So Neil Postman wrote this amazing book called "Amusing Ourselves to Death" around how people are trending and this was like in the 60s, right? Trending towards lulling themselves into particular states by their consumption of amusements, media, things that amuse them but don't actually trigger more deep thought process. And then later in the 80s, McLuhan has this quippy, his catchphrase is "the medium is the message." And, this idea is the effect that media has on human senses, on how we perceive the world. And we now fully live in an attention economy. And we fully are paying attention to the things that we're paying attention to are rewarded for it. So the more that we consume those media that sort of we want to criticize, the better it is for them. Actually, we're contributing to that importance of that culture by even paying attention to it. And we have. I look at kids and most of them are growing up on TikTok. This is the media, this is how they consume information, and this is how their brains are trained to think about the next thing to pay attention to and get these quick dopamine hits. I don't know. I think they're all tied together with wealth inequality, media consumption, and this sort of like this attention economy that we live in that is promoting, having a sensory reaction to something shocking being more stimulating than a long, deep, thoughtful session, which about some topic or some subject or some way that we can make the world better, which does not necessarily feel as satisfying to our chemistry. So I don't know. I don't think DAOs are necessarily. I think DAOs can contribute to making things better, but I definitely don't think it's the Deus Ex Machina that just makes everything right at all. I don't know who went. Can I pass back to you, Livia?
Yeah, thank you. I'll pass to NT.
Thanks. So I don't really know how I feel about that. Like, there's definitely going to the Web3 space is definitely going to have an impact, and that I don't know if it's going to be more positive than negative. Um, what I've been thinking is a few months ago I was reading something, I don't remember where, about how the internet and social media was sort of these competition to um, more traditional media, and the media was sort of forced to play this attention game, and so the news and everything they posted, the phrasing and like the structure of the content and the media itself was made more to attract attention, so to get revenue, than for the sake of the information per se. And so I think the Web3 space has a shot on providing, making a mechanism with where the incentives are more aligned with information per se than the attention or other things that are driving the media now. But that doesn't mean that we are going to end up with better information, I guess. Because that's my main concern, sort of the quality of information or the source of truth. Um, like, I think uh, Juanca's point is a really good one, but anyways, as the world is more globalized and we are more connected together, we are going to have uh, sort of a high level um, media, that's a high level culture or whatever. Um, and so I may have like my own future, but it's still dependent on the whole world, on how the whole world develops. Um, I don't think as well DAOs are necessarily the component that will change that, but I think the Web3, the world of Web3 could do something great about that. Uh, I think I'm the last one.
Hey, Batwa, welcome. Do you want to? We're just passing this question around of how will the media change if we live in a DAO ruled society? If you want to answer that. You're muted. You're muted.
Wat sakın şey yapma. Kız bize masa getirdiler değil mi?
I can hear you now.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, one second. Let me just open this. Yeah, I mean, I literally just saw the how they call the presentation as I open my computer. But yeah, but I agree. I think DAOs they may not be the main tool that will change the society, but they will definitely be one of the tools that will have direct impact. And I think, I mean, it's going to change everything. Like once we learn that we can self-govern ourselves. Like you always say, Liviade, that like we have the money that we call the taxes, and we give it to small group of people so they can use it to rule the majority. And I think that will be the core element that will have how they call it, a core change. And yeah, and I think like the whole I believe that after the First World War, empires fell apart and republics were established. Like where I come from is a great example. Ottoman Empire fell apart and then Turkish Republic came into being. But I think now we live in a time where democracies and republics are gonna crumble into pieces and DAOs are going to emerge into existence. Whether it being a community on the internet or like a token engineering community or Tesla, Google, I think we're gonna see small or bigger any form of organization turning into a DAO and declaring their independence. So I believe it's an exciting time. And also I wanted to say something. I've been reading the notes. Like there's a lot of I see that a lot of people are still using the language of the future, like web, like for example, some people mentioned that Web3 will change the future. I think it's present, like it is changing everything already. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, I'm not gonna open that discussion right now, but
Okay,
thank you for
okay,
thank you for this point. And hey, Chewy, welcome. Just in interest of time, I'll start on the agenda. But if you want to share for like 20 seconds, what do you think of like if the media will change if we live in a DAO rule society? That's a good question for you with comms.
Oh, I have 20 seconds for this. It's unfair. I could get so politic about it. But yeah, I feel that every tool works in like according to its own like time. And I mean, at one point, there was like all of this like hype also around like Web2 and Facebook and Twitter and all of these new exciting ways to communicate with each other and how that served the purpose. But now, I mean, media can manipulate information much easier on the internet right now than how they did it in TV and traditional media. So I feel that I mean it could be interpreted as Moloch, but what I do really love about everything going on right now is the amount of just heart and soul that people are putting into this, and how people believe in like taking action now rather than just like pointing trouble and like sharing opinions. I feel that's gonna be like the small huge difference. But I mean, we're humans, so like in the end we'll always find a way to like corrupt ourselves, but that at the same time will take us to new paths of coming up with new ways to strengthen that. And I think there's like a beauty to that process. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Cool, thank you. Hey, Chris Norton, welcome. I can't hear you. I see you unmuted. You just wanted to say hi. Oh, I think your microphone might not be working. Maybe you could try to come in and out. But cool. Yeah, thanks everybody. I think there's a lot of reflection to how we communicate with each other and how this affect the way we communicate with others and the way we also receive information, especially from like, I don't know, the big ones like Hollywood and big news agencies, and just understanding how we've been accessing information in this space has changed a lot. I think my perception of how I receive from mainstream narratives. But the first point in our agenda is I wanted to draft some action items from the council. So we had this big discussion. In the end, it felt like there was points of agreement that would be interesting to explore a little bit more. So I chatted with YGG a little bit because he had elaborated on the idea that Nate and I shared of like, what if we had consortiums that could help token engineering projects and still create some type of revenue model for the TEC. So we were chatting about like maybe modeling that could be interesting. And I think before it would be good to understand how would they work, like what types of services that working groups are interested to offering to token engineering projects, for example, which working groups would be would think it's good to do that, or if there's any blocking thoughts on doing that at all. So if there's anyone with immediate feedback that wants to share, feel free to speak up. No thoughts? Was it unclear, the question?
Yeah, I didn't understand really. Sorry.
Okay, so in the console, there was this idea that perhaps we could create a model for token engineering projects, like projects that are aligned with our mission, that want to benefit from services being offered by TEC working groups, that there could be some type of agreement where they accept to mint TEC tokens and also hold those tokens in their treasury. And maybe there is a portion of that that is like part of those tokens are paying for the services and part of those tokens are locked in the treasury. How would that work? What types of working groups would be, which working groups would be involved, offering what type of services? Like, I think this was the idea that made more sense, and you felt like there was a good feeling about it from everyone, but I don't know if there is any blocking opinion to like even looking more into that, or if we are going to look more into that, where to start.
So I think that the idea of requiring anybody who's requesting services to simply do a one-time purchase of TEC to hold in the treasury doesn't give as much benefit as it would be to require them to pay for these services in TEC tokens. Because I just don't, yeah. I think creating utility around the bonding curve is the ultimate goal with this in terms of outside of providing the actual services to kind of generate that economic activity. I think if we just like say, hey, do a one-time purchase and hold it in your treasury, it doesn't really benefit the TEC all that much, even if we do require them to purchase it from the bonding curve. But we can't really require them to do anything. So it's one of those things that I keep coming back to. I don't know. Just my thoughts.
But if we request them to mint the tokens, they would passing by the bonding curve. We would receive a tribute, and that would provide a bigger liquidity to the token. It would probably bring the price up, and we would have the tribute fee. And maybe there is a balance. That's what I was saying. Maybe there's a balance of like part of that can be payments for services, and part of that could be holding in the treasury, or like, yeah, if this sounds like a good idea somehow.
I guess you don't necessarily, so if you're concerned about like trying to like make or dictate what people can pay in, maybe you do it on like the pricing side, so that you're not necessarily saying like you have to use this or that, but if they pay in TEC, they are essentially getting like the discount, whatever the tribute of buying into the bonding curve would be. So like if it's a 2% tribute, they want to pay in XDAI, it would be like the full price. But then if they wanted to pay in TEC, then they get like a 2% discount. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think the difference is that it would be going to the individual rather than the organization, so the common pool. So if you're trying to say, I want to give a discount, like I really do think, we should be like, hey, in terms of value alignment, if you're going to pay these people for the work that they're doing, pay for it in TEC tokens directly from the bonding curve, minted from the bonding curve, and pay them. We can take the cost for each individual to be a little less to match up with that, because the percentage is not 2%, it's like what, 16 now. So I don't know what the end. Do we know what the end percentages are going to be? 12 and 6 or something like that.
I guess I was thinking like if they paid in XDAI or whatever, whoever received the payment could mint off the bonding curve using the XDAI. But I guess that's really just like moving who is using the bonding curve.
I think that it would be interesting that we say to that other DAO, like, they have to mint TEC according to the amount of the service, and then they send the TEC to the working group, and then the TEC, the working group can decide if they want to hold the TEC or change it, and like change it to XDAI. And if we do this, we can have benefit from both the entry tribute of the DAO that acquired the service, and also the exit tribute of maybe the working group changing some of the TEC for stable coins.
Joey, what did you think after that discussion? Did you think this could be a good idea? Because I think you were talking about like comm services could be used by many TE projects, for example.
Hey, Livy, sorry, I'm a little bit distracted. I missed some of the points, but we were just discussing in the previous communications call that we're actually gonna like go ahead and start like testing this. For the animation team, we are making like a new proposal that is gonna be using just a fraction of the funds that were purposed originally, and the idea is to have. Regarding deliverables from the animation team, we're going to have the reward system quantification process, but we're also going to be doing some bounties in One Hype TV, and there's also like some interest in Shapeshift. So the idea is that the first 3 gigs or bounties, let's call them, the idea is to request this payment in TEC tokens. So the first 3 projects, external projects that this animation team works on, are going to be paid in TEC. So yeah, adding on top of this that there is a legitimate interest by this team to get more involved and participate in the governance, since they haven't really had a chance to get a more significant amount of TEC tokens. We're just gonna be trying that and see how it turns out. But yeah, I feel that I mean it could be much like improved. And there are like some ideas that come to mind, but I feel that taking that first step with people that have integrated to our cultural build is going to be just like a new experience for the community as a whole. So yeah, I feel that there are a number of different things that we can and ideas that we can get for providing services, starting with this change around the animation and video production team.
That's really interesting. Thanks for the updates. We could continue to check on that and see how everyone is feeling about that. That would be a good one for advice process to just receive the thoughts and see how it develops. Yeah,
Good.
Tam,
I wouldn't.
you're muted.
Yeah, I was just going to say I wouldn't mind throwing in a few extra thoughts, sort of at the end too. I guess there's a few things. I think that there's going to be different evolvements of working groups into service providing DAOs. And there's sort of this incubation period where it's actually the TEC funding the working group. And then there's going to be the period where the servicing DAO is funding itself. And so for the first case, something could be very interesting where the payments are in TEC tokens. Of course, I think that really makes a lot of sense for a number of reasons. First of all, to get communities that are engaging with token engineering commons to value the token engineering commons as a public good to the entire token engineering community. And that maybe goes straight into the commons pool. But that in later phases where the DAO is self-sufficient, something like 20% or 10% or whatever the right figure turns out to be, sort of as a kickback to the TEC or as a donation to the TEC or as an acknowledgement to the TEC in TEC tokens might serve the same purpose, but also, sort of show the importance or, model the importance of supporting this commons as a public good.
I was also going to ask, do you think anybody, should I post on the forum about the kind of that UBI model that I proposed? Would anybody be interested in that, or is there flaws that you see, or?
I think it's always interesting to bring a discussion to the forum.
Okay.
I really don't like this, like the service DAOs, like them having to pay back to the TC. I think that would go I mean, of course, like if they want, they can just give donations, but as a free agent, like we do as individuals when we go on Gitcoin or Giveth or whatever. But yeah, I really think it should be like up to like if we are obligating someone, like who do we even make sure like this is happening actually, like. And I think it's centralizing it back to the TC. I'm not sure like that's a good model.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with you in the terms of I want people to be free to execute on their own work and get paid for their own work without having to give a kickback to the TEC. But then if you've used funds to kind of get startup capital for your venture, if you will, to provide services from the TEC, and you're using that startup capital to generate funds for individuals, I think that is something that we need to have checks and balances for. And even if it's as small as requiring that they pay in TE tokens, I think that is something that keeps that venture of small group of people aligned with the mission. Otherwise, then people are just going to be like, "Hey, I need some money to provide these services for TE," and then just provide services for whoever they want, and then keep the profits for themselves.
Um, I think I have to disagree there. Like, I think it depends a lot on the case. It's like, is the TC funding me, or is the TC paying for something the TC needs? Because um, at least on the individual level, like, if I do something that the TC needs because the TC um, thinks that it's going to provide some value, and the value should um, I don't know how to say it, but like, you should see the value sort of coming back itself, rather than me having to pay it back because I'm providing a service. I'm not getting uh, funded by the TC, and I think that applies as well to subDAOs. Like, unless they're asking for funding in a way that's for, like, I am like a separate entity from the TC from the beginning, and I'm just asking for some funds to get started. That's one thing. But if I am a small guild and I'm just providing a service that the TC thinks that has some value, I don't see why should I give it back if at some point I decide to go like my own route.
Yeah, I actually agree with NT, and I think like we could do different things. Like like if Gravity, for example, is making like his own DAO and being his own entity, I don't think they should give back to the DC if they don't want to. Like they shouldn't be forced. But then in the other way, like we could, the TC could have like their own services, like they could offer to people under the brand of TC, and those services could be paid in TC, and that would create economy activity, and that would be one way to fund the community, because you are creating goods like being used for other people, and they're paying for it like any other service, and this is yeah, like how economies work. Like you have different uh, economy agents, and they interact between each other, and actually when they interact between them, like they are if they interact with the funding group, they're paying entry and exit tribute that funds the public goods.
On that same note, I just
Yeah.
want to add that I think also the services that the TEC provides. I guess this is more a personal opinion, and just to see how the discussion goes. But I think this comes back to the boundaries within subDAOs and the TEC. Like, I'm not sure how I feel about every subDAO providing a service being sort of required to provide the service in close connection to the TEC. It's like going back again with an individual example. If Chewy decides to make a particular job for, I don't know, for one hive or whatever, um, he's uh, is more than anything a member of the TEC. Even though he may be contributing a bit on other places. If he goes to one hive for a job, he is not required to get paid in TEC. And so I think probably not all services, especially if the service itself is not aligned with the mission of the TEC. I think the subDAOs should be open to request or to receive funding in any other way, because I don't think it's pertinent to the TEC anyway.
So
Yeah, I
this
don't think
is
there is a.
go ahead,
Yeah,
Libby.
sorry, I didn't want to expand so much more in this discussion. I just maybe just to wrap up a few points that we have here. I think first, there's no expectation that the working groups would be providing a service. There are like there can be many models of working groups, and what is the purpose they're achieving or they're serving within the community. But since this question has come up of some working groups having been delivering services to this community, to other communities, and this funding aspect of it. How do we do it? And I think I need to draft it more, I think, this point with YGG, but the idea was not to only request this services to be paid in TEC tokens, but to have some type of agreement with projects that are aligned and that could benefit from having like an umbrella of services being offered that could have a lower cost for who's offering and for who is receiving. And then part of that agreement being having this locked tokens or having to mint TEC tokens more as like partnerships of projects that are aligned, having TC in their treasury and creating this type of like trust and mutual help relationship. But maybe there's a lot more that needs to just be drafted and be put in an eloquent way. And then I think there was great points here too, and understanding what are the directions we don't want to go, what are the directions that are seeming like open and possible. Do you want to just close a comment, Nate?
No, I think that we have this mental mindset of traditional markets and how they're supposed to operate, and what we're trying to accomplish is developing a commons. And I don't think the framework of looking at it as a commons is a different mindset than the one we're traditionally used to thinking about. And that doesn't, the free market concept looks at the TEC as a client, and it shouldn't look at the TEC as a client. We are all part of the TEC. We are all part of the token engineering commons. And I think that we play a dangerous game when you're able to basically come in and use funds that were meant for token engineering and advancing the field of token engineering and use it for your own ends. And that's what you get when we look at it in this free market model, where you can just go and do anything you want, and not to say on an individual level, but as a group. And so I just think that's something that we need to keep an eye on and maybe articulate a little bit more in depth about and to evaluate. So I'll try to post something and maybe I can get some engagement around it.
Yeah, cool. I'm afraid that there are too many assumptions being built from these conversations. I don't think this is happening now that the TEC has been communicated as a client, but maybe it has been seen as a client, and that's a good clarification to make. And I think we've been making that clarification, but yeah, that would be great if you could elaborate more on that, Nate, and anyone that has thoughts on this. Maybe let's try to write it down and have it more concise so we can understand next steps and how to move forward with all the thoughts that came in. And then finally, I just wanted to share this governance cleanup that I'm doing in the forum and see if this makes sense. So I got some feedback that people were confused about where to post advice process, how would a funding proposal work, where the things were. So advice process, I created a category explaining it. Oh, I thought it opened if you... here. So it's just explaining a little bit what is small impact decision, medium, and large. And then I'll put this graphic in all of them. And then having advice process be used just for financial, technical, and cultural proposals in the forum. And then have conviction voting here. with a brief explanation of conviction voting also. Oh, that one needs to be pinned. And then just a step-by-step of how to submit a funding proposal. And then I was going to do that for tile voting and snapshot too. Does anyone has ideas? Do you think this is helpful, or if there's another way that would be helpful to do this?
I think maybe from the Twitter team we can also make some kind of like relationship to this post. So because yeah, maybe all the information is there, but we also need people to go there. So yeah, maybe having some engagement with this forum thread.
Cool. Yeah, that'll be good. Maybe when all of them are ready.
Actually, I was having a discussion with Ratio. He's making like monitoring all the advice process and then saying which of these advice process went through a proposal vote, even if it's snapshot or conviction voting. And then it's important actually to be consistent with the title, like because there was at least one decision that I was doing that was one title on the advice process that was the same decision but was a different title on snapshot, and that was confusing. So maybe like we could have also like a cultural thing where we are consistent on the just the title. It would help so much to the transparency actually.
You mean when posting for advice process, the title should be different than, or should be the same for the real proposal?
Actually, the same. Yeah, it would be so helpful to actually monitor this metric of how many of the advice process decisions are decisions being done just with the advice process, or they are being proceed with the snapshot or even conviction voting.
Sounds good. So we have 6 minutes left. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up? Topic for next session, something that is missing to be discussed?
I have just a thing, Livia. There is currently an issue about collaborating with communities to create awareness around proposals.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to take a couple minutes and see if we can just crowdsource a couple of ideas from people about how can we bring this forward. And it's actually related to the last point I think Juanca mentioned around how do we get more traction around these proposals. So, but yeah, just wanted to take some time to see what ideas come up regarding this, and then I can go back with Edu, and Tam's here as a co-steward of Comunitas. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So we have discussed this a little bit. I think we just need to make a decision on how we're going to go about it. I think some of the options were having a few people that are dedicated to looking at all the proposals and then signaling them, or bringing to the community call, or writing comments. Like, what are some consistent ways that we could engage with proposals and bring to everyone's awareness? And then I think also organizing the forum will help a lot, even for us to track what is going on and what. There will be like a new proposal for conviction voting, a new proposal for tile voting, and a new on snapshot, and that will also be visible in the forum. as of now is all in the same category, so it's messy. And also I added the thing in the template of the proposals for the accountability metric, and maybe this is something we could have like an action after proposals pass after a certain time, and then sync back with them. Is there anything you guys thought in Communitas?
I wasn't at yesterday's call. It was my birthday.
Happy birthday, Mama.
Thanks.
How old are you?
Happy birthday, man.
Thanks. I turned 30. The big 30. 30.
Ooh, big one.
Great.
Wow. Let's use the end of this call to sing happy birthday.
Cool.
Everybody open your mics.
Happy
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Manu.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Yes, happy 30.
That wasn't all that bad. That wasn't all that laggy. I don't know if you guys have like broadband internet, but it was actually quite on time.
We're getting better at it.
Thanks, everyone.
What is your one big wish that we can all send good energy for?
Oh man, nice good question. I don't know. I just think keeping of service, keep growing, and yeah, honestly, no expectations. I just think I'm growing, and I keep doing what I like and being valuable to my community, and I mean sharing all my days with all you wonderful people that I admire and learn a lot from. So I already got what I didn't even know I wanted. So I'm cool. So just send me whatever good energy, and I'll amplify it somehow. Thanks.
Asha, hope you get everything you're wishing for.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for joining today. I would love some help to organize this agenda into like possible action points. If anyone wants to help me with that, that would be very appreciated. I think there's a lot here to be digested and just have better descriptions for some thoughts that are still abstract.